Hey you guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags and Metal Reviews. And today we're getting another episode of Check This Out, where today is going to be our first impressions of Saint Anger by Metallica. Okay, so people might be wondering, what the fuck? Why are we going to check out Saint Anger? So there's a couple reasons for this. Saint Anger, there's a consensus. Saint Anger is the worst Metallica album. It's completely frowned upon across the board. Now, when this album came out back in 2003, I was kind of hyped for it. It was Metallica, whatever. It came out, I listened to it, and then I feel like I kind of fell victim to the hatred that was going around. Everybody said it sucked, blah, 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 and I kind of just jumped on that train and just kind of forgot all about it and agreed that it sucked. But there were a couple songs that I did like. Now, TV Fish has never really jumped into Metallica. He's never really spent much time with Metallica. I don't think he's ever listened to a full album from front to end of Metallica before. So I think this is a good album for somebody that's got a fresh brain in terms of Metallica to check out. It's almost like somebody checking out Metallica with no bias whatsoever, which I think is going to be an interesting take. I also think that as guys who review music, review metal, we're going to be looking at this not as a Metallica album, but as just an album. Does it have decent vocals? What do the guitars sound like? All these kinds of things that I know a lot of people criticize and stuff like that. I just think it's a good album for us to critique on this channel.
And I think it works out in my case specifically because I don't really have any previous biases of, oh, this doesn't sound like that, this doesn't sound like that.
0 points of reference, really.
I've heard Metallica. Of course I have. I've heard plenty of songs here and there. I listened to, I think, a chunk of Hardwired back when it came out, which was, a few years ago. As for Saint Anger, I think I've heard one song from it, I think, and that's really all there is to go off of, and that was still a while ago as well. So I'm going in really, really fresh in this album. I know about it. I know the whole thing, people, whatever, snare sound. I know that. But I haven't sat down with this album before, so it's going to be a really fresh perspective, at least from in my case.
Yeah, and even though I have heard it before, it's been a long time, and like I said, when it came out, I think I listened to it maybe once or twice in its entirety. I don't remember anything, except for a couple songs that I also don't remember much of. But anyways, we're going to listen to it for the first time in what will feel like my first time, and his definitely first time, in its entirety, and we're back to give you guys our first impressions of Saint Anger. Alright guys, we're back. We just listened to Saint Anger in its entirety, and mistakes were made, because this album sucks. And I know you guys know that already, but TV Fish didn't know that, and I guess I forgot about it.
I mean, I did know that.
You knew it,
but I didn't know about it in detail. But now,
you knew about it from third-person perspective.
I knew about it from third person, tiny bit of first person, but I didn't know the full extent of how horrifically bad this album is until today. And my God, this album sucks. It's very bad. Now, we can sit here for 10 minutes and tell you that. But that's not what we do. We're going to talk about it in detail. So, where do we begin? I mean, what we normally do is we talk about, these are my lowest rated tracks, these are my highest rated tracks. But honestly, there's only 2 songs on this album that I ended up enjoying. Only really 2.
Curious, which ones?
Title track.
Okay.
And The Unnamed Feeling.
Okay. You know what? To stop you there, I agree. The only 2 redeemable songs on the album are these 2.
So let's talk about those. So Saint Anger, the title track, this is the only song from this album I know I've heard before.
Yeah.
Because a while ago,
makes sense.
I was with a buddy or whatever, we were talking about it, he threw on the song. Just to, because I'm like, I've never actually heard the album. So, I heard that, I'm like, okay, snare drum, ping pong, boop, bop, boop, boop, bop. And this song, I really like the riffs and the ideas, how heavy it is, how emotional it gets. The melodic elements are nice. The mix is rough, but it's passable.
Agreed.
The mix of this whole album is a disaster.
But on that
song, you can hear it and be like, I guess.
It seems like they put in a little more effort with the mastering on that one, because they knew it was going to be like their big single.
I guess. See, perhaps. I don't know. But overall, It's a fine song. In fact, it's good. Like, I listen to that, I'm like, yeah, this is, I can dig it.
Yeah.
The Unnamed Feeling, it's overall good, and it is even more emotional, and I like that. I like that you can hear some passion in this song, something this album critically lacks. But the only issue I really had with it, aside from obviously the mix, but that's a given for this album, is that I can barely hear the drums like at all. Now obviously it's an issue of the drums being too loud in some points, especially because of the way the snare sounds. We'll get to that, but it's like I'm listening, I'm like, is he playing? All I hear are cymbals.
Yeah.
I can't hear the kick at all. Like, where did it go?
So this is the thing with the mix on this album. It's not just bad, but it's all over the place. Because sometimes in some songs, the drums are just like blaring in your face and you're like, what the fuck, dude? Tone it down a little bit. And then there's songs like this where they're so washed out you can barely hear them at all.
You can't hear them. There was one song, I forgot which one it was. I think it might have been,
Number 6, My World.
Might have been My World, where, actually, I don't know. I remember there was one where the snare was close to actually hurting my ears. It started to irritate my ears. I'm like, can you stop that? Now, from what I've heard, and also from what it sounds like just listening to this snare drum, it sounds like he turned the snares off and hit it as hard as he could. And there was one song, I don't remember which one, where I could hear the snares rattling. And that was fucking hilarious. Like, really, man? It's like they just threw it together. Now, the snare, it sounds very pingy. In some songs, it's kind of okay. Overall, it's really bad. And if you listen to literally any other song at all from anyone that has a snare drum in it, you're going to hear a proper snare drum sound. This sounded like an experiment gone wrong. That's
Very
what this
wrong.
sounded like to me. It's like, they were trying something, and that's okay. That's fine. You can try something. But the fact that they tried it and said it was passable, this is good, this is acceptable, let's roll with this, it's like, really? How could you really come to that conclusion when even you can't trust your own mixing and mastering, because in some songs it hurts your ears, and in some songs you can't hear it at all?
Yeah, I have a theory about why they took this route and why they went this direction. And it was a mistake, but this is my theory. So in the late 90s, they released Load Reload. Decent albums, not that well received. Then what happened in the late 90s, early 2000s? Nu metal. Blew up. Specifically, Slipknot. And what does Slipknot have? Well, they have a pingy sounding snare.
That's true.
Very poppy sounding. And they also have guys that hit giant metal kegs.
Also true.
Also true. Right? But they're a 9-piece band, they got a very full sound, a lot of things going on. It works for them. I think Metallica tried to steal some sound from Slipknot and incorporate into this. Get that new metal, try to tap into that new metal spike that was happening and kind of ride that wave. But the problem is, when you overdo it, when you try to make your snare sound like it's a snare plus kegs at the same time, and you only have a 4-piece band trying to do something that maybe a 9-piece band can only really do, you're gonna sound like utter fucking trash the whole time. I think that's what happened here. I think they tried to experiment and tried to go for that. They wanted that money, they wanted that fame that other bands started kind of going, we're creeping up now, we're gonna take over. Metallica was like, no man, we're head honchos, we're king shit. We're gonna do it better. And they fucking blew it. That's what I think happened here.
Now, just to mention again, it is okay to experiment.
Yeah, for
absolutely. Sure. It just did not work in this case. Now, let's talk about another one of my problems with this album. Song lengths.
Oh, God.
It was very entertaining for a song to come on, and we're like, okay, how long is this one? Oh, it's 8.5 minutes long. Okay, great. I guess I'll take a nap now.
And in every case, it ended at about 4 minutes, and then they just kept going.
Exactly. And then in some songs there were multiple moments of, they could have ended here, and then it kind of ends here, and then it kind of ends here.
Yep.
Like, some songs could have perfectly been wrapped up at the 4 to 5 minute mark, and they just keep going. And what makes it worse is that there is nothing that is enough to warrant these songs being as long as they are. There is no content in any of these 7 or 8 minute long songs to warrant it being that long. You would think There's a big bridge, there's a big change, there's a big solo, there's something, but there's nothing in any of the songs of that length.
It's literally
to justify that.
About 2 minutes of song and 6 minutes of padding. That's what it feels like. And the worst part about it is like James's voice. Not even just his voice, his lyrics. The lyrics are shit.
The lyrics are
They're absolute shit.
They're like written by like grade schoolers. You know what's like a 7th grader could probably write to the same level, if not better.
I would say better. But even his voice, like the Unnamed Feeling, I think he sounds good. Insane Anger, I think he sounds good. Every other song, he sounds like trash. Like, it sounds like they just went with whatever the fuck the first recording was. They wrote the lyrics down, no refining, no proofreading. Just write something down, record it, walk away. That's it. Master it, and call it a record. That's what fucking happened here. They all got into a room, they all played the fucking song, and they left.
So, about his voice, you know what? There were actually a few moments on this album I made a note of, I like the thing he does here, I like the thing he does there. I think there are some pick and choose moments on this album where James's voice sounds good, but there are a lot of moments on it where it just sounds bad. There was one, I think it was in the last track, All Within My Hands, where he just,
it's like he took a drink of like Pepsi or something. He's like,
that's literally what happened.
Just in the middle of the song.
I'm like, really? You're gonna go to the next section using that? No screams, no nothing, just
Let's give a little credit where it's due. They tried being creative. There's a lot of stuff in here that you're going, what the fuck? What the hell's that? What the fuck? Like, there's parts where the song's playing and Lars just goes off and just starts playing some random ass fucking beat on the drums. That doesn't sound too bad, but it doesn't fit the fucking song.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lars, it fucked up. But you gotta give them credit for trying to experiment.
I give them credit for trying, and you know what? One of the more consistent notes I was writing throughout this album is that the riffs were not bad overall. Honestly, some of these riffs, they had some pretty good riff ideas, and the guitars are probably the most consistent thing in this album. Because James's voice are sometimes good, sometimes shit. Lars's drumming,
all over the place.
But the guitars feel consistent. It's the only thing about this album that really feels consistent, and it's consistently not bad, I guess.
I can agree with that, but it feels consistent, but it doesn't feel like Metallica consistent.
Here's the thing though, here's the difference, and that's part of the point of having this episode of Check This Out, is because I'm not a huge Metallica guy. I haven't focused on them much,
no point of reference.
Of course, I've heard their songs. I've heard songs, and I like what I've heard, but the point for this, for me, was to have a clean slate, right? Yep. So, because for you, you'd be like, well, this sounds like shit. Black Album's sick, or Justice for All sick. For me, it's like, well, I haven't heard those albums. I've heard songs from those albums, and I like those songs. But as a whole package, looking at this critically and as its own thing, without that reference point, it's still bad. Because the production's bad, the lyrics are stupid, the drums are a mess, there's inconsistencies everywhere, it's way too long, but at least there were some good ideas in there. There was something. It's not like there's nothing there. There is something, but it's just cluttered in a mess in the corner of the room.
Yeah, anyway, guys, this was my lowest scored album on a first impressions, because we do give little fake scores. My lowest scored album in over 4 years of doing this channel, I actually gave songs negative scores. That's how fucking much I hate them.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Track number 6, My World, and track number 10, Purify, got negative scores. Negative scores. I thought they weren't worthy of a 0. That's how bad these songs put a taste in my mouth. But anyways, guys, you know what? We're gonna do it how we do it on this channel. We're gonna stick it out, and we're gonna listen to this album as much as we possibly can through the whole week. We're gonna put it through the test. We're gonna see, maybe it'll grow on us. Maybe something will come out if we listen to it on different speakers, or when we're in different moods.
Every album,
or doing different activities.
No matter what we say or how we feel in our first impressions, every single musical album has potential.
Exactly. So we're going to listen to it as much as we can, and we'll be back in a week to give you guys our full and final review of Saint Anger. Don't expect our opinions to change too much. I'm not. But who knows? Could be wrong. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Leave your thoughts down below. Do you guys think this was a stupid choice to pick this album? Or maybe just a fun one? Who knows? Let us know what you think. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
I'll see you guys on the next one. Keep those heads banging.